Hi, Mystic Michaela spiritual family. Welcome to Know Your Aura with Mystic Michaela. A question I get asked a lot is, are there any aura colors which correlate with disabilities? I read so many parents of children with special needs, and that was just way too big a question for me to answer myself, and I wanted to bring in somebody who could just explain it so much better, and that is Darlene Rodrigo, and we're going to be speaking with her on her very special journey being a special needs mom and advocate, but she's also the producer of, what is it, like Ellen's number one?
Oh, yeah.
Ellen K. Morning Show. It's the number one morning show in LA, right?
Yeah, she's on Coast 103.5. Mm-hmm. She's the executive producer of the Ellen K. Morning Show. Yeah. LA's number one radio show, morning show.
And you love that. It's the feel-good radio. Like, you love it.
Oh, I love it.
And actually, Scott, we were talking about defining moments. And like, what is a defining moment? You know what I mean? I think we all have, if you look back, feel like, oh my gosh, that was a real defining moment for me. And sometimes defining moments take years for you to realize, like, oh no, that was a defining moment. And you want to talk about a defining moment we had in relation to Darlene.
Yeah. While we have her, she's in the green room right now,
right,
as all our guests are. And she's organizing our CDs. Music, right?
Yeah, well, we still have CDs.
We still do have CDs.
Yeah.
Right. She's working backwards. So right now she's doing our U2 CDs, With or Without You, One, those, if you remember those. But so that'll give us a little time to tell this story. Before I actually tell the story, could you right now tell me what my aura is?
It's like very blue, and your red is kind of like sharp, almost like cracks through it, or so you're like emotional.
Yeah, it's interesting because I'm actually, I think for the first time, actually nervous.
It's weird
to tell this story.
I know, we're at the dining room table. It's just me and you. Kids are at school.
Yeah,
and you're like, you were pacing. I came downstairs from doing readings, and you were like doing your thing where you pace.
Yeah.
I'm like, Scott, what's wrong?
All right, so let me give you a little background. And I'm not the greatest storyteller, so Mystic Michaela, you help me out.
Oh.
All right. But this was back in 2017, April, and you were friends with Megan King Emmons, and you were going to L.A. to tape The Real Housewives of Orange County. She invited you onto the show, which is a whole other story we won't go into today. But being Scotty, I figured, hey, if we're going to L.A., let's try to make the most of it and do some other media, okay? Now, a little background to that. At that point, I don't know how to put this, but we were green. Would you say?
Yeah, that's what I told Darlene. Yeah, green, but not green aura.
Right. We had no green aura still, but you had done one little tiny radio interview.
I was a newbie.
Yeah, newbie. Yeah. Nothing. We absolutely had done nothing. Mm-hmm. Again, one little tiny radio show here in South Florida. You were on a podcast, Heather McDonald's podcast.
Juicy Scoop.
Juicy Scoop. Megan, had a connection. You met her at a baby shower, and she got on that. But at that point, really nothing. And so I was reaching out to people at that time to see, and we're going to LA. What could maybe we could do something with this. And I reached out. A lot of people heard nothing, but one person that I did reach out to was Ryan Mano, who is the co-host of the show, the Ellen K. Morning Show. And I read back my pitch.
Did you really?
I did yesterday. And it wasn't good. It wasn't good.
And Ryan's so sweet.
Yeah.
He's a purple blue. Yeah.
Purple blue, yeah. And, I did it on Instagram, of all things, on a DM. Wow. I slid into Ryan's DMs.
Yes. Before that was even a thing.
Before it was even a thing, yeah. And, he wrote back something, that's really cool, what she does. And Ellen's on vacation, but when she gets back, I will contact you. And, of course, I didn't hear anything. And I was following him on Instagram. So, in Scotty fashion, a couple of weeks later, I said, hey, Ryan, we're still coming to L.A. Would you still be interested? And then believe it or not, and I told this story actually on their radio show, at 11:11 at night, I went downstairs and Ryan had wrote back and he said, we'd love to have you.
Is that when you became the believer of the 11:11?
That's when I became believer of 11:11. And he said, just email me here and we'll set everything up. Wow. And I was just like in shock.
And then you told me, I was like, what?
I didn't even, I don't think I even comprehended at that point what had happened. Lady Gaga was on their show. Miley Cyrus, I don't know, Selena Gomez. U2 was there, right?
Exactly.
Sorry, I don't know if U2 was there, but
it's a big show.
It's a big show.
It was a big show for a newbie.
It was a big show.
For a newbie.
It's a big show for anybody.
Yeah.
And Ellen used to be Ryan Seacrest's host, and then she got her own show with Ryan Mano. But anyway, so I was just kind of elated, and I didn't really know what to make of it. But hey, all I knew was I had to get you to that point.
Right.
So we go. Let's go fast forward a little bit. We go to LA.
By the way, I have to stop you here.
Sure.
The date of the show, the Ellen K morning show, was in the morning, and then that afternoon I had to go be at Megan's house to film.
Yes.
It was April 28th. It was
28th.
all the same day.
Yes.
And I'm brand new, and I'm an empath, and I'm walking, I'm like nervous and shocked, and just imagine it. Like, yeah, because I don't think much of myself, so I'm like, oh my God, why do they want to talk to me? So I'm very nervous, and I've never done anything like this before, and here we are.
Yeah, and I'll just add, when I picked out the hotel, I'd been to LA a few times, but I picked out a hotel which was like 20 miles away or something like that. There are studios in Burbank, and the night before, I'm like, oh, okay, we're only 20 miles away, whatever. And Megan was joining you for drinks the night before.
Edmonds.
Megan Edmonds, yeah. And I was at the bar, and I was talking to a guy. I'm like, hey, I got to get to Burbank tomorrow. What's the best way? How long do you think it'll take me? He's like, Burbank tomorrow? He's like, that's going to take you hours.
Yeah. Megan's like, leave at 5 a.m.
Yeah. So I'm like, what? It's only 20 miles. And we found out, yes, that does take an hour and a half.
Yes.
To go from, I think, southern part of Orange County to Burbank, which is in the north.
The traffic.
If you're in the LA area, you know exactly what we're talking about. And my first moment of that day came when we were driving there in the traffic, of course. And we were listening to the station, and Ellen K mentioned we're going to have Mystic Michaela on. And I'm like, whoa, they just mentioned you. We were
like
giddy.
I blacked this out.
Oh, you remember that?
I was so nervous. I was so in like this zone because I was so nervous that day because it was such a day. I feel like I blacked out a lot of this.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, it's like, weird.
Oh, wow. I mean, that's usually you have a better recollection of stories than I do.
I was just in the zone. I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. So, all right, we get to the station. We park the car. They give us all these instructions to do. And if you've ever seen the iHeart radio station in Burbank, it is gorgeous.
It's so pretty.
It's
so
beautiful.
Modern.
It's unbelievable. So we're like just kind of like staring at it.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh my God, take a picture. And, we get in the building, Darlene comes down to greet us.
Yes, that's the first person we met, Darlene.
Of course, very nice right from the start. We bring us up. We get like passes. We got to show our IDs. We got everything. And again, remember, we've never done this before. And it was kind of like surreal. We're walking through the hallways. There's like all these famous pictures of, rock stars that probably had been there. It's just a beautiful place. It's unbelievable that, they put us in a nicer green room than we have. Offer us coffee, drinks, whatever. They got you lunch later.
Yeah.
I mean, they treated us
like
incredible.
Like gold, like family. Like they're so kind.
Yeah. And again, I guess at that point I must have been feeling like, what are we doing here? Like, how is this happening? So you get in, you had to wait a little bit. They had to do their commercials or run their things. And they bring us into the studio. And at first, Ryan had told me in his email it's going to be one segment. He's like, we're going to do one segment, maybe two.
Yeah, that's like, how long is that in radio? Like a few minutes?
A couple of minutes.
Okay.
So I'm like, all right, one segment, fine, great, whatever. So we get in there. You're on the mic, whatever. They have a seat for me. I'm like on the side.
Yeah, they let you come in. They put a mic on you too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I talked on that one. I
did.
In future ones I did.
Oh, you did? No,
yeah.
I thought she asked you.
No, I didn't talk on that one.
Oh, okay.
No, I was probably freaking out. I was in my mind. I was probably freaking out. And you went on there and you talked about what you did, and then they're like, let's do another one. Another segment.
Yeah.
And you did another segment. And
I was reading like call-ins. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and then they wanted more and more segments, and then I think Ryan looked over, or Dar looked over at me. Could you do another one? I'm like, yeah, we could do another one. And I think it came out to be 4 or 5 segments anyway. But I remember sitting in that chair, and I think I was even talking to myself, how incredibly, like I knew you could do it, but that moment,
It's okay.
Well, I was so proud of you.
Oh, thank you, Scott. Oh, my God.
Yeah, because I always knew you can do it, you know. Okay, hold on. And as you were doing it, it was just unbelievable. Like, and you know, the people that you were talking to that called in were just loving it. It was incredible. And I just remember, like, I know you can do this, and you did. All right, so anyway, do you remember that? You take over for a second so I can get my composure.
I think as far as defining moments go, I think just because, Ellen was, I think the niceness of everybody. You know, like Ellen, she's an indigo, yellow. She just the comfort I felt with them. Darlene, Ryan, they just made us feel so welcome. Yeah. They're truly like good people. And I think like what I learned from that is how a door opens for you is who opens it for you. So anybody out there that's like, I need this to happen. How's it going? You have to find the right person to open that door. It's not always just about the door. Like I have to get in here. I have to get on this show. It's like who's going to open that door for you is more important than anything. Yeah. Because they were so kind and sweet, and they were so. And even if let's say I just bit it. You know what I mean? Let's say I just sucked. Let's say it wasn't good at all. Right. You know, they still would have been kind to me because they're just nice people.
No, and I do want to talk about what happened after the show too. But yes, they gave us a tour of the building. They took pictures. You know, I think they treated us just as if, Lady Gaga was in the building.
They did, yeah.
And
well, that's just a reflection on them, of course. Honestly.
They even were so nice that the radio station next door, which was Valentine in the Morning, they had you on next.
They had me on too.
They put you on too. So you actually, and they aired that at a later date, but they even offered you on another station, another big show they were, in LA.
Which is huge.
So that was one part, but there's also more that happened that day. Mm-hmm. So after the show, they got you some food, me some coffee, and Dar, sat down with us, and, she's an executive producer, and she started giving us some tips that we'll never forget.
Right.
For you, she told you to go with the colors.
Yeah. I'm going to talk about that with her later.
Yeah, you're going to talk about that. Yeah. She was basically the one who said, this is your thing. That's your niche. Go with that. And she told me I have to be a manager of you.
She gave you a talking to.
She gave me a talking to.
Yes. She looked at you right in the eyes, and she's like, manage her.
And you know what? I listened to it.
Yeah.
And she even said to me, which is really weird, and she said to you too as well, she said, if it was me getting your email or whatever, your pitch, I wouldn't have had you on. I would have just thrown it in, the pile of
She was surprised we were there.
No, I know.
Because she said if she had gotten it, she would have thrown it out. And it's weird that Ryan got it because she's the one that always gets it. So why Ryan, for whatever reason, got that?
Yeah.
She said that in and of itself, how their office works, that doesn't happen. So, I definitely feel like Spirit slid it in the right DMs.
Whatever it is, I mean, I am.
No, obviously, like Darlene's a lovely person. She just was doing her job as the filter for the show.
But the debt of gratitude to what I have to these people.
Yeah.
Ryan, Dar, and Ellen is off the charts.
Me too.
Like, I don't think they know how much that meant to us.
I feel like
to give us that chance.
I think in our own lives, like, just people who's given us chances. Like, if you can think, like, who gave me a chance or who gave me just a moment of their time or who gave me anything, like, the gratitude you can have for them it kind of makes you feel like God's with you. It's like that love, that like appreciation that only out of the goodness of their hearts they listened or they helped. And like, who can we do that for in our own lives? And it's funny, like, maybe it wasn't a big deal for them or something. You know what I mean? But it is for us. So, like, it's interesting how our own actions can affect people so much. Yeah. Just little helping ways and whatnot.
No, it's just.
I know.
They gave us a shot when we didn't believe.
We're basically in love with them.
Yes, we are. We love you guys.
Yeah.
And we have been back.
Yes.
And then the next time I did go on the air.
Yes.
And I told the 11/11 story with Ryan. And you've been on a few times.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see. I merged it because I was so in shock. And then that afternoon, I had to go be on like Real Housewives of Orange County. So I was like, I think it took, and then on the plane ride home the following day, I felt like I had the flu, like legit.
Yeah. Oh, for
I was
days.
like, oh my God. Like I was going through this I think I was in shock.
Yeah. Well, that was because of one of the most horrible humans you've ever met.
Oh, that was on that's another story.
Yeah, which we won't get into.
That's the Real Housewives story.
Like Co's show, this is a very positive segment.
Exactly. But that's okay. I feel like it all happened for a reason. So thank you for telling that, Scott.
I mean, is that okay? I mean, I broke down in the middle of it.
It's okay.
Should we have a trigger warning on this? Could we do a hey bro?
Should we do hey bro?
I mean, we've been getting a lot of requests to do hey bro.
Have we, Scott?
Like two people.
Like two people
want more hey bro.
Yeah. I don't know. We might have to keep it going, even though it wasn't our best moment in podcasting.
I mean, I think it was one of our better segments, but.
I'm going to talk about some of our lovely sponsors for a minute, right, Scotty?
Yep.
This one is BetterHelp. We've talked about them before. I use them myself. We're calling them right now for Scott.
Yeah.
So we can.
I use them more and more. I find myself.
Yeah. Well, it's definitely okay to talk about your mental health and your happiness. You know, humans aren't meant to keep everything inside. It makes us sick. And therapy, it helps. But what is therapy exactly? It is whatever you need it or want it to be. Maybe you're not feeling motivated right now and you just need some tools, or maybe you're feeling insecure in relationships or at work, or you're not just dealing well with stress, or maybe you're just feeling numb or detached, or you don't know what's going on. Talking to someone can really help. Whatever you need, don't be ashamed of normal human struggles and start feeling better, because you deserve to be happy. And now you don't have to worry about finding an in-person therapist near you to help, because BetterHelp is a customized online therapy that offers video, phone, and even live chat sessions with your therapist. I do phone sessions, and they're wonderful. I just go into a room, I shut the door, and I talk to my therapist for a half hour. I come out, I feel so much lighter and so much more insight on myself. You don't have to see anyone on camera if you don't want to. That's kind of like my deal, you know? But if you want to, you can do that too. It is much more affordable than in-person therapy, and you can start communicating with your therapist in under 48 hours. Join the millions of people who are seeing what therapy is really about. See if it's for you, because you are your greatest asset. I'll tell you, the people, I love my therapist. So down to earth, so normal, so non-judgmental, so kind, just there for me. And there's a BetterHelp app that's really easy to use. If you write to them, they write back to you right away. It's real people is what I'm trying to say. These are real people on the other end who care about you. So this podcast is sponsored by BetterHelp, and Know Your Aura listeners get 10% off their first month at BetterHelp.com/KYA. That's BetterHelp.com/KYA. You know, I learned, I think it's great for teenagers too. Like teenagers, young people. I have a lot of clients who are like, oh, I got this for my kid, you know, things like that. Just it helps them. It's a great introduction too if you're not comfortable with going to, I don't know, sometimes doctors' offices freak people out, or waiting rooms, and it's so comfortable.
Yeah, and it was weird. The last time I was getting it, this therapist said, hey, get a chalky milk. And I was like,
Papa Chalky Milk?
Poppy Chalky Milk, yeah.
Yeah, that's your therapist. You messed it up.
I did?
Yeah. So your therapist said Papa Chalky Milk.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
They told me to.
I
knew what they were talking about.
So, see?
Thank you, Brianna.
Yeah, your daughter taught you. Your Gen Z kid taught you.
Yeah.
I love this one, Modern Fertility. This makes me so happy, because I have so many readings. I tell you guys this all the time. So much uncertainty. Like, can I get pregnant? Why am I not getting pregnant? What's going on? I feel something's off. Modern Fertility can help you. Peace of mind. So, did you know that a simple finger prick can unlock tons of insight into your reproductive health? I'm talking egg count, menopause timing. If your hormone levels indicate conditions like thyroid disorders or PCOS, all things that are good to know whether or not kids are in your future. So That's why Modern Fertility was created. It's easy and affordable, and it tests your fertility hormones at home with a simple finger prick. Mail it in with a prepaid label, and you'll get your personalized results within 10 days. Traditional testing with your doctor can cost over $1,000, but Modern Fertility only costs $159 to get the same information. And if you go to modernfertility.com/KYA, you can get $20 off your test. Also, if you have an HSA or an FSA, you can use those dollars on Modern Fertility. You'll get insight into how many eggs you have, hormone levels, and other important fertility factors. The factors and these results go deep into what every hormone means, and you can also talk one-on-one with a fertility nurse to review your results and options for next steps. If you want kids today, or maybe one day in the future, and you need information to make the decision that's best for you, this is how it's going to happen. So right now, Modern Fertility is offering our listeners $20 off the test when you go to modernfertility.com/KYA. That means your test will cost $139 instead of the hundreds or thousands it could cost at a doctor's office. Get $20 off your fertility test when you go to modernfertility.com/KYA. That's modernfertility.com/KYA. It's the peace of mind you need. It's a good little nudge in the direction you're going to have to go next.
This is a little weird. Is it weird that after you read that, I'm in the mood for an egg and cheese bagel?
Yeah.
That's weird, right?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
Okay.
Before we talk to Darlene, I wanted to just talk about, I guess, like how I see things energetically from my perspective. The other day I was doing a reading for this woman, a single mom, and her son, about 12 years old, he has autism. And I'll just preface this right here. And if I say anything that is incorrect or is phrased in a way that's not compassionate or could be phrased a lot better, please feel free to reach out to me. Because I am not an expert. I'm not a therapist. I'm nothing like that. And when I talk to people that I do readings for, oh, trust me, I remind them that. This is not a professional opinion whatsoever. This is just what colors I see on them, what I get when I pick up energy, what's going on. Just that. Just looking at people, as humans, as souls. That's all. So I just want to make that clear and welcome any sort of just help me out if you feel like I need to be helped out. But that's why I wanted Darlene to come on today as somebody who can truly speak to this. But yes, I was doing this reading with this woman, and she has a yellow and blue aura, and her blue was very overwhelmed, very big, and her yellow was very much one-track mind. And I could tell that this woman is basically a living advocate. Her life is constant. What can I do best for my son? What avenues can I go down? Who can I contact? What's best? Constantly. She sits, it's night and day. This is what she thinks of. This is what she organizes. This is what she advocates for. And her blue was so fuzzy, so large, constantly in his thoughts and his feelings, where he's at, all those things. I don't know the specifics of what his disability entails, except that, she did tell me. I could tell when I read his aura, when I kind of went into his energy, that he was very green, and he had blue too. And I could tell that he just, I think like with sometimes when I read a child with autism, the first thing I get is we don't know a lot about this at all, because it's not for lack of intelligence at all. If anything, they're on a much higher, more focused plane than we are on collectively. And it's just the isolation I was getting that this child experiences. Just the isolation. And his mother all day fighting to make sure that he does not feel isolated. But what do you do when your child goes to school? Not everyone is going to love or have the patience or anything like that for your child the way you do. And you send this child out into the world, which is what needs to happen. And then what happens? How do you help them cope? And I saw this woman, and she's a single mother, and the husband left. He couldn't handle it, or that's what happened. And she was doing it all herself. And she She was simply just a function, if that makes sense. She was just a person who just consistently was living in her son and constantly just functionary for him. What can I do next? That's it. That was her whole existence. And I told her this in a way, like, you know, you need to do something to have that connection with that which is greater than us within you. That doesn't always have to do with everything you can do for your son. And I know that's hard because obviously as a mother, that's your priority. That's what you do. That's nature. That's unconditional love. And I said, you do anything. And I felt like she didn't. I said, you do anything for yourself. And she's like, this is what I did for myself. Like this reading, this is all I probably can remember I've done in a long time. And I started crying. And just, you know, I sent her like crystals after and stuff. Because I'm like, here, take crystals. I don't know. I'm like one of those people like, crystals will help you. But I just felt like, where do you go? You know what I mean? So this isn't just about children with disabilities or special needs. This is about the people that take care of them. And this is about what love really is. Because they have to define it differently. They have to define it for themselves. And that's what, when I read moms and dads who have children with special needs, I mean, that is what I see in them. I see what love truly looks like from both sides. A lot of times too, you know, just because I'll read families and there's always like a sibling, and I'm going to ask Darlene, you'll hear about, because she has a son too. So her daughter has a sibling and what happens to them. And I'll tell you, you know, the reality is like, yes, you know, we give our children, sometimes we raise them differently for what they need. And I'll read adults who have, you know, grew up with a sibling with special needs. And I'll read, you know, a mom or a dad who has two children and one has special needs and one doesn't. So like what happens to that other kid? And I'll tell you something, they're okay. And they really truly learn, again, what the meaning of unconditional love is. And they really truly learn what being selfless is. Sometimes they do that thing where they feel like they can never do anything bad because they see mom and dad, you know, so much goes on with the whole family. The whole family is centered around making sure the one person is okay all the time, or we're always kind of over in that area that they never want to, I don't know, sometimes like quitting a job can be hard for them, or doing anything to cause more disarray in the family. They want to help maintain stability for their sibling. I will see that. But what I see is, and it's hard to put into words because it's like a feeling I get when I channel it. It's like a different reality that I'm sure a lot of us don't understand unless we've been there. And that's why I see a lot of families who have a special needs loved one band together, because you just have to find your community of other people who get it. Otherwise they don't get it. So people do ask me, are there colors that correlate? And honestly, not really. And that's why I know there's no way we can possibly know so much about, if I just take autism, for example, because I will see, also all the colors. It's more about like the focus of it. So sometimes I'll see children with autism who have an amazing ability to be emotionally absorbent. And it's something that they almost have to, everybody around them has to understand, because they'll reflect behavior. So if they're with a therapist that doesn't like them, they'll be real naughty for them, because they're just reflecting back. You don't like your job? Okay, here, I'm going to make you hate it today. I'm just reflecting back to you what it is. It's very energetic. It's a huge energetic exchange. And sometimes I'll see children with autism, for example, who are very green, and they're just extremely focused. They're just really focused. They're the ones that, you know, here's my puzzle and I can do all this stuff, you know, but it's hard for me to talk, you know, so much. So it's just kind of like the colors influence it in the ways that we talk about all the aura colors and how they work. But it's more, and I hope I'm describing this correctly. It's almost like stepping into a place where you don't hear everybody, or you don't always see everybody around you, but you feel them really strongly. And it's hard to communicate. And our species, like, words are the go-to. And I feel like a lot of times with children with special needs, it's like we have to find other ways to communicate, nonverbal communication being the main way. And this is why a lot of time I will see moms and dads and siblings who have a loved one living with them with special needs. They end up having major empath awakenings real quick. They figure that out real quick. And I will see a lot of the therapists who choose to do the work with children who have special needs are usually indigo or blue, and they have this amazing ability for nonverbal communication. They don't need the kid to use words to say it. They get it. And they get it. And it's fine. So just a lot of joy, just a lot of love there, just a lot of like purity. And so, yeah, that's why I wanted to talk about it today, because a lot of people are like, what's the correlation? I think we want to unlock the puzzle, you know, like the autism symbol is the puzzle pieces. We want to unlock the puzzle, and I would never, ever presume to know what the solution is to it, but I feel like a lot of it has already been figured out by those who love kids with autism. Is the unlocking to the puzzle is love and knowing that person inside and out and just trying to connect through heart space. That I feel like is a major key in unlocking that. But when I was talking to this mom, and I'm going to talk to Darlene about it too, it's kind of like, where do you go? And how can you make sure you're okay too if you're the caretaker? Because it's not like when the rest of us have kids, they grow up and we're like, they'll figure it out. You can't do that to these kids. You can't do that to these kids with special needs because they need resources and help and understanding. They need you. So it's not something that just gets taken away. It's something that's always with you. And that is draining. And it is. And it's not mean to say I need to take some time for myself today and make myself as the caretaker okay and fulfilled and all right. You need support. And so a lot of times when I read moms and dads who have a child with special needs, it's like, okay, this isn't selfish, and I know you think it is, but we have to figure out how you can have at least something that's yours. So I hope to get to talk to Darlene about that today, because I feel like that's really important for us too. And then even if we don't have a child with special needs and maybe what can we do to help them? How can we make their life feel more connected? I think when you're in somebody else's headspace all the time, when you're in your kid's headspace all the time, because they don't have traditional communication skills, so you're constantly just in their energy space, you yourself can lose the ability to do the same thing with other people. So how do we reach out to them? So outreach to families who can feel isolated. I mean, I think that's really important as our little empath community is concerned. So let's talk to Darlene about that.
Okay, but first we do have a few ads, and Darlene is now up to the K's, so she is now organizing my KISS CDs.
Great.
All right. Who do we have up first?
Well, this is one of your favorites, Scott, because, as people know, Brooklinen.
Yes. We haven't left the bed now in 6 weeks.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I feel like since we've gotten the Brooklinen on our bed, like we are just sleeping better. It looks better. It has this wonderful texture. Life is too short to sleep in anything less than really nice sheets. But maybe you looked at some realtors,
Now you're like you reading something.
And maybe you've looked at some retailers and calculated the years of interest you'd pay on just one set and gave up. Trust me. Go check out Brooklinen. So Brooklinen was started by Rich and Vicky, who lore has it, according to Scott, if you spend enough money, they will show up at your house.
Oh my God, this is crazy.
What?
I just got a text from Rich.
Oh my God.
They're coming over tonight.
Yes, Rich and Vicky.
They're coming over.
Brooklinen party. They tried to find beautiful home essentials that didn't cost an arm and a leg. And when they couldn't, they founded Brooklinen as the first direct-to-consumer bedding company. They work directly with manufacturers to make luxury available directly to you without the luxury level markups. Brooklinen has a variety of sheets, colors, patterns, and materials to fit your needs and tastes. Brooklinen has over 50,000 5-stars reviews and counting, so they are confident you will love their products and even offer a 365-day money-back guarantee. And Brooklinen is so much more than sheets. They've got comforters, pillows, towels, even loungewear, and more. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm into it.
Oh, Vicky wants to know if she should bring something.
Oh.
No.
Charcuterie?
Charcuterie.
Okay.
I'll tell her.
All right, good. So go to brooklinen.com and use promo code KYA to get $25 off when you spend $100 or more plus free shipping. That's Brooklinen, BROOKLINEN.com, and enter promo code KYA to get $25 off when you spend $100 or more plus free shipping. Brooklinen.com and use promo code KYA at checkout.
Swiss or peppercorn?
Both.
Okay.
Ooh, hey, Scott. We're talking about Dipsea.
Hey, guys.
Oh, I'm here with, what do they got? An audio model, voice model?
Oh, yes. Let me tell you what happened. As you know, they wanted me to do one of their stories.
Their short, sexy stories?
Yes. And believe it or not, I was talking about how surprised I was of getting you on Coast, but I was even more surprised that they actually hired me.
They hired you. Dipsea hired you for a short, sexy audio story?
They did. And they actually hired me, though, to turn people off.
Oh, no.
So basically, after you get turned on by Dipsea, this would be one where you might listen to kind of
switch gears.
Yeah, and they're calling it the crowded train station. So basically,
this is a real.
Basically, if you need to, you're turned on by Dipsea, and then you need to leave the house, you put on mine.
Your Dipsea story.
You put on my Dipsea story, the crowded train station.
And you turn off.
And you turn off.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Dipsea is an audio app full of short, sexy stories designed to turn you on. Each Dipsea story features characters that will feel like real people in immersive scenarios, so you feel like you're right there, like with Scott.
I walked through the train station with my briefcase, alone.
Find stories about an off-limits hookup with your professor, or a costume party that takes things to the next level, or maybe a story where your partner tells you exactly what to do, or you try a new toy together. They release new stories every week, so there's always more to explore, no matter who you're into or what turns you on.
I noticed there was some old chewing gum stuck to my sneaker.
Dipsea also has wellness sessions to help you learn more about yourself, and bedtime stories, and even soundscapes to help you relax before you drift off.
I sat down next to a man who smelled like perfume and cotton candy to take off the gum from my shoe.
It's really doing the job. And for listeners of the show, Dipsea is offering a 30-day free trial when you go to dipseastories.com/KYA. It's free. That's 30-day free trial when you go to Dipsea, DIPSEA, stories.com/KYA. Dipseastories.com/KYA, free for 30 days.
The man started telling me about his tour of duty in Vietnam.
Oh my God, that sounds... Your story sounds great.
Yeah, see how that's why they hired me. I mean, are you turned off?
So we have a whole afternoon. We have Brooklyn in, we got Rich and Vicky showing up. We're gonna listen to some Dipsea together. And then Curtsy.
Let's get some lingerie.
Yeah.
I'll wear it if I have to.
Let's upcycle it.
Okay.
Yeah. It's only women's clothing, but that's okay.
Perfect.
Yeah. What is your closet missing? Tie-dye? A shacket? I don't know what that is.
What's a shacket?
Maybe some thresher?
What's that?
I don't know.
We need Bree here to help us.
Whatever you're looking for. Curtsy has the latest styles you actually want at a price you can afford. They do have lingerie, actually. I love Curtsy because you're shopping from real women in your size and style. It's so easy with the Curtsy app. And you get thrift store prices delivered to your door. No need to sort through thousands of items that aren't your size or style. I find Lululemon... Oh, my gosh. I can't talk today. I find Lululemon tops for $20 and Lululemon leggings for $40. This app has all my favorite brands like Nike, Urban Outfitters, Princess Polly, Champion, Free People, and Levi's up to 70% off. Selling clothes is actually such a pain in the butt, which is why my closet is always overflowing. But Curtsy has actually made the selling process so easy, literally anyone can do it. I don't know how to price my items, but Curtsy suggests a price, which is so helpful. If you don't have a printer, they'll mail you a shipping label for free, which I love. And the coolest part is when you get to instantly cash out to your debit card. I purchased a secondhand Tory Burch bag. It looks brand new. I mean, it would have been hundreds of dollars more if I bought it retail off the store website. And Curtsy, it was like a fraction of the price, and it is so cute. So if you want a sustainable way to get Brandy, Urban, Champion, and Lulu delivered directly to your door, download Curtsy today and enter promo code KYA for 15% off your first order. Search for Curtsy in the App Store, spelled CURTSY, and enter promo code KYA for 15% off your first order. Download the Curtsy app and enter promo code KYA.
All right, so Darlene is, I think, just about finished with our CDs. She just did ABBA. You know how much I love ABBA.
Yeah.
Mamma Mia.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think we're almost ready to go.
Yeah. Now, you heard about Darlene as the producer that gave us a shot. And now I want to tell you, before we sit down and talk with her, who Darlene is as a mom. She has 2 children. And one child, Bella, is 13, and she has a dual diagnosis. And when she was born, it was quickly found out that she had Down syndrome. So they were dealing with that, and you'll hear her explain how she used words, and she was doing great, and they were working with her. And then between the ages of 3 and 5, basically all the use of her language halted. It stopped. She even stopped saying mama. And as a mom, I can't imagine that. You know, and at 5, that's when she officially got diagnosed with autism as well. And so you're going to hear a mom who deals with a dual diagnosis in her child. You're going to hear about a mom who daily has a daily dose of nonverbal communication with her teenager, and what they do and how they cope and what their life is like, so we can all get a better empathy and understanding and compassion, and also just like the beauty of it. So here we go. Okay, guys, I am here with the producer of Coast 103.5. She is Darlene Rodrigo, and she's a special needs advocate as well, which we're going to get into. And she's just like one of my favorite people. How are you, Darlene?
Hey, Mystic Michaela. Okay, I'm going to stop, and I'm going to do what everybody I know wants to do out there. And I'm going to give you an introduction, because you have been just so solid with this podcast, you and Scott. And you guys deserve like more than a round of applause, more than the recognition we could give you over Zoom. But you guys are just really, really killing it out there. And I love you guys for keeping up, staying consistent. That's like the biggest thing with any podcast. Yeah. And it's the hardest thing,
it's
right?
It's so hard, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it is.
But
it's true.
You guys are doing so great. And I'm putting it out there. You need a TV show.
Oh my God, my crazy family. That would be a lot of fun, though. I got, just Scott and I went over how your show gave us like our first shot, and
yeah.
But I personally remember when I first met you, you looked at me and I was very green, and I wasn't green aura. I was just like new at this. And you looked at you're like, let me have your website. And you just kind of mothered me. You sat me in your office. You gave me a breakfast sandwich. You sat me down, and you're like, give me your website. And it was like my cruddy, like Wix free website at the time. And you're like, okay, you got to go with the aura thing. That's you. And I was like, okay. Cause it had like psychic, medium, that, and everything else and all this stuff. And you're like, nope, go with the auras. And I'm like, okay, all right. And because of you were like, looked at me right in the, you're like, do it. And I'm like, okay. And so thank you.
Oh, you're welcome. It's funny. I remember the first time meeting you guys. It's been about 4 years now, right? And the reason why it was such a feeling with you. And to be honest with you, I think I even told you that day, I was a little bit afraid, like weary about it, because, like when you're raised in like, I'm just going to say it, when you're raised to know God and the church and religion and things, like, it's kind of like an unspoken thing, like, oh no, you don't go there. You don't talk, don't cross that line. Right. You know what I mean? And so I remember but I felt so like natural and friendly with you guys. And I always that's always my selling point too with you guys, because I'm seriously saying this. You guys have my favorite podcast. I listen I haven't missed one episode, Michaela.
I love you.
So when you guys were in the beginning thinking about like, how should we proceed or what should I say? I have to come up with prep for Ellen K, who's going to interview you guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so in my mind, I'm thinking, we get people that come through all the time, like saying that we're psychic mediums and blah, blah, blah. And it doesn't stand out. But the thing that stood out was you saying how you see auras. And that's why it was just like a no-brainer. Like, you have to go with this. Like, this is what's setting you apart from everything else. And
Wow.
I'm so happy.
It was powerful because I was very disorganized at the time in my head. Like, what do I do? What do I do? And then you just simplified it for me. But yeah, I also felt something pass between us too. And it's just kind of like that empath connection. Mm-hmm. And I remember you gave me a picture of because you're a mom of two and a wife.
Yes.
And you gave me a picture of your beautiful daughter, Bella. And I remember, and even now I'm getting emotional because I remember I just felt I'm getting emotional. Oh my God. Like, I felt I just felt this strength of connection. And you gave me her picture today. And I just feel like with her, there's just a lot of power there. And there's just so much message she has to give to us. Can you tell us a little bit about your Bella?
Yes. So Bella is my 13-year-old daughter now. 13.
Wow.
Oh my gosh. It's hard to say that out loud.
Yeah.
And she was born with Down syndrome. And then at about close to 5 years of age, she was officially diagnosed with autism as well. Mm-hmm. And so having the dual diagnosis is very, it's actually not as rare as most people would think, but a lot of people, and including myself, I didn't know that was possible. And it's very possible. Any of us can technically show signs of having being on the spectrum for autism. And of course, Down syndrome is something she's born with. She has an extra chromosome, which has always kind of, from the beginning of her life and her being born, it was a very big shock to me because I was a very young mother. I was 21 years old. Excited. Everything was going perfect in my life. Like, I was just my ego was just flying through the roof. Like, nothing could stop me. And I wasn't the best person back then, which I'm glad I recognize now because I just thought I was better than everybody else. And I don't even know where that came from. It was like, I look back and I'm like, thank God I was brought back down to earth because I wasn't a nice person, and that's in the end, in the root of it all. Like, I've always wanted, like, that's what I want to be, is nice. I want to be helpful. But I think it was just because things were going my way every single time. I had a cute body. I was like into, what I had, everything I wanted. I had a cool car, like a car from Fast and the Furious. Like I had a cool job.
Was your purple showing, Darlene? Were you like a little extra purple on there? Yeah.
Yes. I'm indigo purple, right?
Yes, you are.
And so the purple was full force.
Purple's like, hey, yeah.
And so, as a little girl, I was always very shy. I don't want to say I was an ugly kid, but I was hairy and like awkward. So I think what it was is that, like, the minute I was able to get my eyebrows done and like makeup on, it was like a whole other person.
We can wax this off. Like, let's go.
Eyebrows are life. So anyway, I was just young and dumb and naive. And then I had this little girl and everything was just changed.
Yeah.
It was an emergency C-section. She was not breathing. It was chaotic. It was like the scariest. That's kind of just what brought me down to my knees. And I was like, none of this matters. You know what I mean? Like, I think I gained like 80 pounds with her pregnancy. And I was just like, I don't care. I don't care how I look. I don't care if I just had a C-section. I want to walk to her in the NICU because she was in the NICU for the first day and I didn't get to see her or hold her or anything. And then it's just like everything changed because I just felt the difference. It was all a feeling.
That's interesting. Like, how quickly, I guess pretty quickly after did your like just empath turn on? What was that?
I didn't feel any pain. Like, everybody was worried that I shouldn't be standing and they wanted to wheelchair me, but the pain was gone from my brain. Like, I couldn't feel any pain. It was just me thinking, like, I need to see my baby and I need to see her so I can feel how she might feel by looking at her.
That's interesting. Like,
and
just
so,
from right off the bat, you're like, I want to get in her. You like knew this primal need to just get in her energy.
It was just like there was nothing else I needed or wanted. And then they would even give me like blankets that she would lay on so I could smell her. Oh. Sorry, I'm getting cracked up.
That's okay.
It's hard when like you experience, you want this, especially when you're lucky and you have the ability to have babies, to like things were easy for me, you know, up until that point. And I can honestly say that things have not been easy for me since that point 13 years ago. But that's okay, because Bella has this ability, although she's unable to communicate. She's pretty, like, I had to put her on a meter, I'd like to do this so that people can get an idea, because, you know, we're all, most of us are blessed with healthy children, and children that you don't even have to consider them hitting milestones, or even if you do, you're like, oh, good, thank God they hit the milestone. I don't have to go any further, right? But the minute your baby or your child doesn't hit a milestone, then what? And I hear this all the time from people. They're like, I don't know how you do it. Like, if anything happened to my kid, forget it. Like, I don't know. I wouldn't be able to handle it. But you do, you know, just like when we all had to be faced with this pandemic, whether you have a child or not, we had to deal with it. It's not a matter of, oh, no, I wouldn't be able to. No, you do, because you have to. It's the only road that you can continue on. And so I just remember noting that Bella was very special from the beginning, despite all of her diagnoses and the things that would happen to her that normally wouldn't happen to other babies, like seizures and, you know, just things that I wasn't expecting to happen, being in and out of the hospital a lot the first year. We called her the $1 million baby because her bills racked over $1 million the first year of life.
So you're not just dealing with like, I guess just, I got to know my baby and how do I communicate with my baby. You're also having insurmountable, like, debt is piling up.
Yes.
Then there's just, so what does this do to you just as a person? Like, how, like, what mode you go into?
You're definitely in full on, like, flight mode. You're ready to battle whatever you need to do. The hairs on your arm are sticking up at all times. You're probably not sleeping that well. Your mind is kind of all over the place. I have this term that, like, I pretty much have made up with my family. It's called uddy uddy, because like your brain is like going all over the place, and it feels like it's going uddy 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 uddy. So like that was like my life for I can't remember how long, a long time. But my goal was keep this baby alive. And whether it was staying up all night to just watch her sleep, whether it was just making sure her little finger, her hands were wrapped around my finger, like any little thing that I could do, like I was going to do it.
Connection.
And I just needed that. And, you know, Bella started to grow. She started to become a toddler. She was using a lot of sign language communication, which was
that's
awesome.
Interesting. Did you initiate that with her? Did you just kind of know to do it? And
no, I didn't know anything. Mind you, I'm a new mom. Like I was at this point, I wasn't smart enough to.
You're young.
Network.
You're very young.
I'm very young. Yeah. I had just turned 21.
Wow.
And what happened was I was always taking her to appointments, and then I started meeting other parents. And that's kind of the key for a lot of our success with Belly and just helping her. But what really happened and helped me was that back then I was like a stay-at-home mom. My husband was always working. And I started to, back then it was Blogger. Do you remember that website?
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh. That just took me back. I
used to write
really quick.
I kind of felt, not that my husband left me alone, but we were living differently because he was a paramedic at the time. So mind you, he works a crazy job and working 24-hour shifts, saving people's lives. And then I'm at home trying to keep our daughter's life alive.
Wow.
And so I would always use that as my diary. and I would write. I was like a doctor. I would write, today Bella was feeling, really happy. She was clapping, and then she just turned really sour.
But that's such a way to like connect and reflect and even understand like how you're processing things. Like,
Yes.
so you're doing self-awareness stuff that's pretty heavy. Like,
and
that,
and I didn't even know I was doing it. It was
you're just
like
naturally like how do you, like, you just know to do kind of stuff that we all talk about, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. So my goal then was like, I want to put this on a website, and then maybe somebody else will read it. And if they do, then maybe I can find a connection in another way with another parent. Mm-hmm. And one day I got an email from someone that I wrote about my experience coming home from the hospital after having a baby and not bringing a baby home because she had to stay in the NICU. Mm-hmm. And I got an email from another mom, and she was like, I just finished reading your post. I related so much. I'm in tears and blah, blah, blah. And like at that moment, I was like, okay, like it was like the Oprah moment where she like tells you your light bulb goes on.
Yeah, the aha moment.
I was like, I'm on to something. Like this feels right.
Yeah.
So I started, Instagram wasn't even around yet, but Facebook was, and I started a little Facebook page. It's called A Little Extra.
Yes.
And I would start sharing Bella's stuff from there. And Bella was very photogenic. I mean, she's such a different baby. Like she's just so, like who can't love a baby? And then she was just so she was so funny, and she was responding to sign language in Spanish and English, which was really interesting.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. And then at about maybe 3 years of age, I was pregnant with the second baby, and my son was born. And it was so funny because he never knew the Bella that used her voice, because she even had, I remember she had 13 words that she could verbally say clearly. Mama was the main one. And then she had almost 50 sign language words.
Wow.
Which was awesome. And we did get therapy in home from Regional Center, and that's who taught me how to do it. But my son was born, and it was funny. He was so advanced. Like I was so used to the delayed development.
Right. You're like, wow, this is easy.
I mean, he walked at almost 10 months, and then he was pushing Bella. Bella wasn't walking yet. I mean, they're both in diapers. You know what I mean? Like it was like I had twins. And then he was that's when I learned a lot too, because I saw how somebody so new to the world just treated her like normal. Mm-hmm. Wanted to play, didn't look at her weird, didn't get scared when she made a weird noise, because she does that a lot. Mm-hmm. And he was just like, haha, Bella's so funny. Like, look at her. She's just looking at her hands for no reason. She's obsessed with hands for some reason.
Like he was picking up stuff too.
Yes.
And he was able right away to identify, there's communication and then there's what's behind that. And he was able to just read that, just like you had learned to read that. Like he learned to read it immediately.
Instantly.
Amazing.
Like so naturally. So I remember being blown away by him because when we would go to birthday parties, right? And this is like, you have these interactions sometimes where you might go to a birthday party or to the park or school, and you meet this student who's making weird noises, who's not looking at you, but trying to kind of communicate with you, and maybe being a little bit rough, because Bella's really strong, and she is, she can be scary. Like sometimes she doesn't mean to be so rough with you, but she's just playing around. And it's hard to explain to somebody when you're in the jumper and somebody comes and bumps you. You know what I mean? So it was so funny. I will never forget this. My son was about 2 years old. He could barely speak, and he has the biggest lisp ever. And he tells the little, and they're 2 years apart. And he tells the little boy that got scared of Bella, oh, don't be scared of her. This is my sister. No talk. I remember it was little communication, no talk, but she just he was just trying to explain she just wants to jump in here with us.
That just brings me to tears. What's, as an empath, you feel other people's feelings the same as your own. You feel you're in your daughter's space 24/7. Of course you're in your son's space, but in a different way. What is it like at the park or whatever when you notice other people hearing the noises that Bella can make? What's that feel like?
I've learned, it's a hard feeling to get over, but that you feel protective, and sometimes the anger, it's so fast it hits you so fast, but you don't want to act out that way. At least I don't. I've learned to try to find a way to turn it around to teach the person, because I feel like that's the only way that they're ever going to have maybe some sense of like, oh, I never thought about
like,
it that way.
This is a human. Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll give you a quick example.
Yeah.
Like Bella had a therapist, and we have a lot of therapy, a lot of behavior therapy that we go through. And can you imagine, she's a teenager.
Wow.
She's going through puberty
and
all of that fun stuff. The hormones are raging, and we've been doing behavior therapy for years, but it really helps us because if we removed language from ourselves, from our own lives, how frustrating could you imagine it being, not being able to get your message across to people, you know? And so at times when she gets that frustrated, what do you think you're going to do? Like, you might hit a wall, you might throw something, break something. And that's exactly what she does. And now sometimes, I mean, she will self-injure herself and hit herself in the head because she's so frustrated. And that's when I'm like, oh man, like, how can sometimes I can't help her. You know what I mean? But sometimes what I can do is I say, Bella, come here, stand up. I'm going to give you a squeeze. And sometimes all it takes is like a simple squeeze to reset. Or I have to just say, hey, chill out. Let's go sit down. You know, we have to try anything, some type of redirection. But what I tried to do is, one time this therapist came in to our house, and she was new. She was new to the field of ABA, we call it, for behavior therapy. And one of Bella's goals is to put a sock on. Okay. As simple as that sounds, it's not very simple for somebody like my daughter. And so the girl was getting frustrated because Bella will start doing other behaviors to kind of get away from doing what she's supposed to do. And because the girl was so new, and mind you, I'm in the other room, so I can hear everything that's going on, but I'm not right there. I'm like within distance though.
Right. But you still feel it. You're like,
oh yeah. It's almost like you have this vision where you go into their head and you're like, I can see out of her eyeballs. You know what I mean?
I think you're doing that. Like, honestly. And she knows you're there.
Yeah. So then Bella's just doing her thing, you know, not cooperating. And the girl, I hear her mutter under her breath, put your effing socks on. Now, as a mom, what are you going to do,
it's
right?
Like mama bear time. Like, so that's a natural reaction. Like, for just me listening. Like, and I'm not even there, but go on.
So I take a deep breath. I'm like, oh my, I'm in my house. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, this chick is not going to get away with it. I'm not going to go out and call her boss. Like, maybe I should have. Maybe some people thought I should have. But I was like, I'm going to keep her with us for a long time. And I'm going to use Bella as a tool to teach her, because she's going to work with other people and she can't do this,
Darlene,
to others.
Like, you're making me, like, I'm really getting emotional that you took that energy in that space where a lot of people, even me, was like, get the hell out. Like, you know, like, that you're like, you know what, I'm going to use this situation to help her life, help her soul, help anybody else she touches.
We can't keep spreading that level of
that's
frustration and hate and
wow,
you know, ugliness. And
yes,
I truly feel like if you had to be around somebody like my daughter, it would be impossible for you to not love her.
Oh, of course.
And so that level of proximity for anybody, I mean, I encourage you, if you don't know anyone with a special need, you can know us.
Yeah.
We're very active on social, no matter where we live. But also, if you would like to, I mean, there's so many groups. I mean, every parent's dream is for their kid to be included. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. Tell me about that. Tell me about, well, first of all, what happened with the therapist? Did she stay with you guys?
Okay, so I walked back out, and then I was like, I can hear she's giving you a hard time. And I could tell she got really nervous. Mm-hmm. And then I said, you know, sometimes you have to give her a break, and let's move on to another activity. And then let's try doing it again after the activity. And sure enough, it was like, fine. It was fine. And she ended up working with us for not as long as I would have hoped for, but she continued. She still is doing it now.
Okay.
She was probably with us a good 4 to 6 months. And I know she improved a lot, and I never heard her mutter any bad stuff after that. And like for me, I think what it was, like I was saying, once you get to know someone, whether they can talk to you or not, it's impossible to not start caring for them.
Wow.
And so that's when I learned, and actually like a quick story, just to give you a rage story.
Yeah.
When Bella was born, I kind of learned that this was going to happen a lot. Because when she was in the NICU, there was a nurse, and she had actually at one point 3 IVs connected to her. And one of them looked really, really bad on her foot. And they just needed it as a backup. But since she already had the other 2, I asked them to remove the foot one because her foot was turning purple. And the nurse looked at me, and he was just trying to, he didn't even think of how he was saying it. He just said, "Oh, don't worry about that. Downies don't feel any pain." And I was just sitting in my rocking chair, rage, like you know how when you just get steam coming out of your eyeballs?
This is your brand new baby.
New baby. Like
you're processing
I'm 21.
all of this. Yeah.
I'm purple Darlene at the time.
Yeah, you're like still like the purple's hanging in there. It's like you're ready to throw bombs. Yeah.
So it was bad. But that was when I learned, like, I'm going to deal with this a lot.
And so, yeah. And back to the whole thing, like participating. How does that, when other children or parents, like instead of, I think, okay, this is what I mean. As empaths on the other end of it, I think just when I go into it, I can see some people wanting to avoid the discussion or steering their children away from your child. Like, and almost an attempt because of their own discomfort with not knowing what to talk about or like handle it. Or they don't maybe want to bring it up to you as if you don't know what's happening in your own life or something. How does it make Bella feel when kids are like, "Hey, let's play," or anything?
Yeah. See, Bella gets, she has a lot of love around her. And I think it's built her confidence up enough to be able to handle it. But I do see some of her friends that are not there yet. And I can see where it really sets them back. And besides having, special needs physically, there's a whole other level, like our mental health, our emotional health.
Sure.
Some kids are not, it's really, okay, so here's the thing. A lot of family that gets dealt with a card of having a special needs child, it doesn't mean we all live the same lives. We all don't know. There's not a manual, and a lot of us are afraid. I mean, I've been there before where you just don't know, you don't know how far you can go to ask for help. And then when you get the word no so much, you get used to it. But there also becomes a time, and this is where I really thank my husband, because we make a good team when it comes to being parents. I am very like, okay, if you say no, I understand. He won't take no for an answer. And when it comes to IEPs, IEPs, individual education plans.
Yeah.
It's a dreadful meeting we have to do every year for her school plan. I'm sure you remember those as a teacher.
Yeah, I do. I taught Spanish, so nobody really cared about me so much.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but I remember my coworkers were like, "Oh, Lordy, here we go."
It's tough. It's tough. I wish there was support groups just for that emotionally.
Yeah. No, I remember there was a lot of crying. There was a lot of just feeling.
Yes. So I think it's really important to, if you feel like you're weak in an area, to maybe have that support of somebody else picking up where you're lacking, because in the end, like, this is all going to benefit your child's life or whoever it is that you're helping.
Yeah.
And that's something I learned. I used to kind of get embarrassed. I was like, oh my God, he's going to snap right now. You know what I mean? But then I was like, babe, snap, do it.
Your husband, right? Yeah.
Yes.
Well, I think we all have to, it's interesting too when we have like a more assertive spouse or something, like maybe that's how he handled it. And maybe, like, I'm going to let you do that. And I'm going to step away from how that makes me uncomfortable, because maybe I'm just absorbing their stuff, but that's their issue, not my issue.
Totally.
And maybe you just, but you're a constant advocate for your child, obviously. And you're indigo, and we've talked about that. It's funny. Sometimes it's not really funny at all, because I follow you on Instagram. Sometimes I'm like, oh man, there's our inauthentic blue. It's coming out. Like, and empath overwhelm. Just like, I think, what did you call it with your brain? The what? The oobity.
Uddy.
The uddy. That feels like your inauthentic blue days. Like when empath overwhelm. It's just too. How is this just, I think because you work too, and you have like all the other stresses of life, and you're just indigo in a world that isn't like super kind to indigos. How is this affected like just your health or your mood or just like how,
you know
what's
what?
that like?
This is really interesting you say that because for the past, especially since the pandemic hit, I've really had to take a step back and focus on myself because I was, like you say it all the time, you start feeling physical symptoms. And I, at one point, was this close to getting diagnosed with lupus.
Oh, geez.
Like, they literally thought I had lupus, and I was getting all this blood work done.
Yeah.
And I broke out in hives.
Man, that's a super indigo issue. That
all over my body.
Wow.
Yeah, like, I couldn't stop itching for almost 3 months at the beginning of the pandemic. Like, my entire body itched from head to toe.
Wow.
In between every hair follicle. Can you imagine? It was just like so intense. And then I realized I've crossed my own line.
Yeah, your threshold.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like but your body was yelling at you. Like, stop it.
Like, and I had no control at that point. I lost control. And so finally, with a lot of prayer, meditation, just a lot of, I have a checklist now for myself. Oh. And if I don't follow the checklist, it's simple stuff, Michaela, like taking your vitamins, moving for 10 minutes, drinking water. If I don't check enough of those boxes, then I know I'm going to fall back into this little overwhelm.
I'm glad you know what? That's a great tip, though, because you had to actually sit down and nurture yourself. And just like you nurture your kids, you had to nurture you. Wow.
And, it's a lot of that because my husband also suffers from fibromyalgia. And so he has moments where he gets flares. And I know that it's all brought on by stress. Like everything comes back to stress. And so I've learned a lot about myself from the podcast, from books, from using what I've used for Bella when she can't tell me what's wrong. Because even at some point, I couldn't even tell myself what was wrong with me. Mm-hmm. And I just started to take better care of myself because if I can't take care of myself, I'm not going to be able to help my people.
I remember.
And that's what I live for. You know what I mean?
You love that feeling, of giving other people the glow that they feel loved or they feel seen or all those things.
And I also went to therapy during the beginning of the pandemic for the first time of my life.
Oh, did you like it?
I did. I really did, actually. At first, I didn't because it makes you feel uncomfortable. And in a way, you kind of feel like, are they trying to call me out? Like, why are they asking these questions?
True.
But then I realized
your purple's like, hey.
Yes. But then I realized that they're not getting paid to do that. You know what I mean? Like, it's not all about you. Like, this is something you need to work out for yourself. And when it comes down, sometimes it's like a slap to my own self and to my ego because I'm like, you're creating these extra things when your daughter who can't use her words to verbally communicate or to use her words to let the world understand how she feels. Like, I almost feel like I can't take that for granted. And
I love that. What a beautiful perspective.
Yeah. Like, it's not fair, it's not fair how love will always speak when words don't. And so I've learned that from Bella. If you ever see some of our videos or our pictures, like you'll usually see her using her hands. Ever since she was born, she would just stare at her hands like in amazement. And then now she likes like one of her coping mechanisms to calm down. She'll grab your hand and just sit it on her lap. And then she just pets your hand.
Oh, that's so gentle. How sweet.
She's very gentle. She's a cuddler. Like, she loves the tickles, I love to give her little tickles, and that's kind of just like, it's all a feeling with her.
Yeah, it brings her back to her moment. You sent me a picture of her, and if it's okay with you, I'd love to just do a little aura reading on her.
Yeah, of course.
Now, as I say, like, special needs moms, whenever I read for a special needs mom, like, I personally, if I use words or like move me around or please correct me, educate me, but I'm just kind of going with energy, like what I feel or what I pick up.
Of course.
What's funny with Bella is she's a lot like you. I get this because she's purple blue, and her blue is so big and soft and floaty. And and so it makes sense why like she can get overwhelmed herself, because I feel like when too much stuff is in there, it's like noise or like a whooshing sound. Because I hear that as I go on her energy, I'm getting chills because I get like this whooshing sound, like she's in a vacuum or something. And I wonder if that sensory, or though, like when you squeeze her or something, like it brings her back to this present. Okay, I feel stable. It's almost like she gets lost in it. There's so much around her, and she's not like tethered like the rest of us are to, I guess, I'm not a reality with air quotes or whatever. Like she's not as tethered. So I feel like she can get lost in a lot of different things and a lot of different planes or a lot of different vibrations or whatever. I feel like we know so little about the diagnoses that she has, or a lot of children or people experience, because I get with her this intelligence that, no, it doesn't have, she can't articulate it, but man, she like, when I feel her energy, it's just this powerful vibration. And she's purple too. So I feel like she's stubborn enough to stick with her plans. And that stubborn streak in her has kept her also going and surviving and doing what mommy does and daddy and brother. But like, so I just that stubborn streak. And that's such a beautiful, like, she's got a passion for life. And it's just random and it's a little cliche or something, I guess, but I see flapping wings, and I don't know if this is like butterflies or birds, or I just flap, and I hear the noise too.
That's funny. She flaps a lot. It's a sensory stick that she just does, but she likes to she does a lot of rocking back and forth, and you would think she would have like 8 packs in her stomach from it's crazy.
Wow.
But it's a sensory thing that at least that's the medical way of describing it, right? But you could tell, like you're saying, her emotional intelligence is just like way blown out of this earth. Like it can't handle, other people wouldn't be able to understand it.
No. And maybe that's why, and you being with her and you giving her, and this is what I got the first time, I remember now that I looked at her picture, is like you get it and she knows it. And just that somebody knows it.
Yes.
I mean, just that, like, she could be in this and she's like, well, mom gets it. I mean, what a relief that she has that. And you know what? She has a brother too, because her brother gets it. Darlene, tell us where to find you. Tell us where to find Bella. Where can we go to watch these beautiful videos that I personally am obsessed with? I really am. I followed your vaccine, the whole, your advocacy. I'm like, go, Darlene. So where do we find you?
Well, if you find one of our accounts, you'll find all of us, but I'm at Social Queen Darlene. That's my radio name. And Bella is at a little extra 21 because she has that little extra chromosome. And, we love sharing our journey because we know that it's funny, the purple, indigo, and then she has the blue. Because you would think like some people just can't share it. It's too much. And I understand that. You make a choice at some point where you decide, I'm either going to talk all about it or I'm not going to say anything,
Yeah. Well,
and it's really been a choice for our family to put it out there, because not only have we learned so much from other families, more than we could learn from medical professionals, from specialists, it's the connection from other people that are living through it, that are experiencing all of the invisible tape that we have to cut through for regular services to improve our lives, that we will be able to get through this, and they're able to, the networking is really, I find the best help on Facebook support groups from other families.
It's a beautiful community of just people that get it.
It is.
And I think
once you learn about that opportunity, and if you are wanting to help others like we do, it's really a pleasure to help others. And so that's why we do what we do. And as hectic, as crazy as our lives, we have a nickname for our family. We're the Casa de Locos. It's just, even our dogs are crazy. Okay.
The dogs too. Everybody just owns it.
We always have a story. Like there's always something. We can't even make this content up. You know what I mean? So we embrace it.
I love it. You have to, because when you're done crying, you got to start laughing, right? Like, it's like, okay. Darlene, thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for sharing Bella's story. Thank you just for being these, I guess, vehicles and bridges for our own communication. And to make us better people too. You know, like it's what I love about special needs moms. It's like, you guys know a lot about a lot of things. We all could definitely use that perspective.
Yeah. We're used to saying sorry a lot, I notice. And, the thing is, at one point you realize, like, sorry doesn't have to be, you don't have to be sorry all the time.
No.
So I appreciate you that you're so thoughtful to say, like, please correct me. You know, we'll find our way to do it. It's all led by the way we feel at the time. And then, of course, if you're encountered with a parent that hasn't been so pleasant, try to understand that some people are not, it's hard. It's so hard. And I would hope to say that we're all trying our best, because we have to for our children, and we hope for more and for better for the future. But I just really thank you for this opportunity. And again, you and Scott are just doing it. I'm so proud of you guys.
I feel like you're a little aura baby, because you're the you're the one that told me to do it. So I'm like every once in a while, I'll just be like, in my quiet moments, I'll be like, oh, thank God for Darlene, right?
And when you get your TV show, I would love to be a producer.
Oh yeah, heck yeah. I'll give you another thing to do, Darlene. You've organized my life. I think I say yes to everything. I'm like, okay, Darlene.
Yes.
All right. Thank you so much. And guys, love you. Thank you so much, Mystic Michaela Spiritual Family. You know, this podcast is for you and about you. And thank you so much for joining us today.
If you want to be the most interesting person at the cocktail party, well, hop on over and listen to the Brain Candy Podcast.
Our award-winning content will have you laughing whilst you're learning.
We read all the best articles, books, and studies, and keep up with new TV shows, documentaries, and pop culture. Then cram it all into 2 shows a week.
Conspiracy theories, cannibal rabbits, unsolved mysteries, the history of the Walkman. There's something for everyone.
The Brain Candy Podcast. Find our link in the show notes.
Or simply search for the Brain Candy Podcast on your podcast app.